afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular Board of Trustees meeting. Today is March 23rd. If anyone would like to join in on this meeting, they can join us on www.youtube.com/user/GOEPCC. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Ms. Josette Shaughnessy, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Pam, could you please take the roll?
Yes, sir. I'll make note that Mr. Uxer and Ms. Pena will not be present this evening, and Ms. Sanchez is in the building. She'll be here shortly. Mrs. Robles.
Present.
Dr. Graham.
Here.
Ms. Naheda.
Here.
Mr. Haggerty.
Here. Okay, could you read 1.4, Pam?
Approval of minutes. These are for the minutes of January 13th, 2022, January 18th, 2022, January 18th, regular board meeting, and January 22nd, special meeting, and February 23rd, the facilities meeting.
Have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Naheda.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. I'd like to welcome all our guests and our staff members. 1.6, ma'am.
We do not have any open forum presentations.
Okay, 1.7.
Presentations by individuals, groups, and organizations. Item 1.7.1, optional presentations will be made by the presidents of the Classified Staff Association, the Professional Staff Association, the Faculty Association, and the Student Government Association.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Serrata. I would like to begin, as always, by thanking you for taking the time to hear from us. Student government recently met with Dean Villalobos, Ricardo Torres, and Liliana Guadian to discuss the cost figures and preliminary plans for the building of the new student union at the Mission campus. It was suggested that SGA conduct a survey with the students from the NDP campus to discuss what it is that they want or need on their campus before making any final decisions. After reviewing the cost to build, the SGA has decided to wait another year to continue with this project to allocate more funds. We also asked Dr. Serrata to continue with his commitment to review the budget in an effort to contribute to this project. SGA sat on the Tuitions and Fees Committee this past month. We support the 2023 fee increase for the Credit for Life Experience program, as well as the increase for the OER program. We would like to thank the committee for answering all of our questions, as well as preparing informative presentations that allow us to make informed decisions. Student government just returned from our ASACC National Student Advocacy Conference in Washington, D.C., where we discussed pressing issues with students from community college around the United States. We, as a collective body, chose to advocate for the 4 top concerns, which included the Pell Grant Act, America's Promise Act, the DREAM Act, and the Higher Education Act. We reached out to our state representatives and were able to meet with the office of Veronica Escobar. It was a very successful meeting, and it was a great feeling to know that we, as a border town, have representation. We discussed the DREAM Act and the impact that it has on our community. We also discussed the America's Promise Act and the Higher Education Act, along with the importance of raising funds for campus-based aid to avoid students in need having to resort to student loans to pay for their education. In reviewing Ms. Escobar's profile, we did not find any information on her support of the Pell Grant Act or the Higher Education Act. We will be contacting her office with our objectives and why we support revisions regarding both acts so that they may be reviewed. SGA will be traveling this week to Dallas for the Texas Junior College Association Conference, our state meeting, where we hold a position on the region board, and we look forward to that experience. I have recently accepted a fellowship position on the Texas Community College Student Advisory Council, in which we will discuss the most pressing needs of today's college students and how we can help students on their journey to success. SGA Vice President Diana Lara and Rio Grande Representative Jocelyn Corral have been busy with their duties on the Real College Texas internship, reviewing services that are offered to community college students and how to improve those services. Students will be surveyed to discover whether or not they are familiar with the services provided on their respective campus and how to improve the sharing of this information. They are working with the HOPE initiative to discuss tuition, living expenses, and additional services needed. SGA met with Dean Pagel to discuss the expansion of the food pantry. We discussed possible locations, and it was also suggested that we canvass the Valle Verde campus for available space. The food pantry previously received a grant worth of $5,000, which was used to purchase a refrigerator, a freezer, and a variety of frozen meat products. SGA looks forward to having an appropriate space to service our students in need, and will be in contact with Dean Pagel very soon to discuss progress in this initiative. Our SGA will soon be experiencing a great shift in leadership as Ms. Jones, Director of Student Leadership and Campus Life, retires. I would like to take this moment to thank her for sharing her immeasurable knowledge, her unrelenting advocacy for student success, and her patience, as year after year she converts students with little to no life experience into leaders. She will be greatly missed by the numerous students who have served either in SGA under her guidance or have served in many of the programs that she oversees, or those who have had the opportunity to meet her. Words cannot express our gratitude, but we humbly say thank you to Ms. Jones. Dr. Serrata, I look forward to our continued constituency meetings with her replacement. Thank you.
Thank you. When you talk to the Congresswoman, tell her we said hello.
I will. Thank you so much.
Make sure she gets on that Pell Grant stuff.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Albert Burnham, President of the Faculty Association. Members of the board, Mr. President, Vice Presidents, Deans, guests in the boardroom, and all of you visiting in YouTube land. On behalf of the faculty, I want to thank all those responsible for bringing a COVID testing site to the Valle Verde campus. This is a very important step in keeping our college safe from the dreaded virus. On Monday, March 21, the first day the site was open, I went and was the first person tested. One day later, I received the result, and for the fourth time in fourth test, I am a negative. I sent an email to all faculty urging them to take advantage of this great opportunity. So once again, thank you to all of those who made this possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone? No one else, Ben? Okay, 1.8.
Item 1.8, Communications. Item 1.8.1, discussion and review by the Board of Trustees of data, statistics, policies, and general information related to the college district.
Good afternoon, members of the board. It's me again. I do have a presentation.
It's on our screen.
Ready to go. There you go. What we will be talking about tonight, last month, Dr. Smith gave an introduction to the first batch of key performance indicators that we look at the college And I'm going to continue that conversation tonight. Just as a quick overview, we currently track 16 measures of student achievement and success, and those are on our internal dashboard, Power BI. Not only do we look at those indicators on a regular basis, on an overall basis, for example, what is the total enrollment at the college for any given semester, but we break down each of the indicators by certain demographic variables. Most notably, we look at gender, we look at enrollment status, part-time, full-time. We do look at some other metrics such as Pell Grant status, military status, but consistently we focus on gender and part-time, full-time. Like I said last month, Dr. Smith got the conversation started by looking at some of the indicators focused specifically on enrollment and bringing students to the college. What I will be focusing on tonight is some of the efforts and the results of those efforts related to keeping students on their path and progressing towards their goals. So tonight I'm going to be talking about 3 indicators that research and practice have shown contribute to students' persistence, retention, and completion, and those are listed on the chart. Semester credit hours completed by the end of students' first year, and their academic status both at the end of their first term and at the end of their first year. So semester credit hours completed, the college defines completion as a grade of A, B, C, or D. So this does not include students that fail or drop a course. And again, these are total hours completed or earned at the end of the first year for FTICs. So the x-axis reflects the student's FTIC semester, and then the bar graphs and the y-axis represent the total hours completed across that year. And what you'll notice, just as a frame of reference, so the spring 19, a little bit more than halfway across the axis, that really represents the beginning of an impact of COVID on our students. They were just completing their first year during the spring of 2020 when the pandemic hit. And so those last bars really represent the progression of COVID at the college for students. Spring of 19, fall of 19, FTIC cohorts were impacted partially, if you will, but starting with the spring 20 cohort, those groups completed their first year completely under the current guidelines that we have in place at the college. So what you'll see on this chart is a fairly consistent pattern. We have average semester credit hours in teal and then median semester credit hours in purple. Happy to go into those if you'd like, but we see a consistent trend where students that start with us in a fall semester tend to complete more hours during their first year than students who start in the spring. Looking a little bit more in depth at this concept of the average semester credit hours, this graph represents differences between part-time and full-time students. Not surprisingly, full-time students tend to complete more credit hours during the first year than part-time students. And again, you'll see both patterns, consistent, slight increases and decreases, but fairly consistent. Don't see a significant impact of the pandemic with, again, students beginning in the fall tending to complete more hours than students completing or starting in the spring. Similar patterns if we break it down by median semester credit hours. Again, no surprise, full-time students complete more hours. greater success or more hours completed with students whose FTIC semester is in the fall rather than the spring. So where we do start to see some differences is when we look at the semester credit hours completed by gender. And on this graph, we've got males represented in the teal bars and females represented in the purple bars. Again, I'll draw your attention to the spring 19 cohort, a little bit more than halfway to the right on this graph. And again, the spring 19 cohort and the fall and the fall 19 cohort represent students that began their first year under quote-unquote normal circumstances, and then the pandemic impacted them during that first year. And then the last two sets of bars for spring 20 and fall 20 represent students whose entire time with us have been under that umbrella of COVID protocols. So again, fairly consistent trends. We do tend to see males generally completing fewer semester credit hours than females. There are some shifts in that trend, but by and large, females do tend to outperform males. And again, a little bit different success stories for fall FTIC students than in spring across the pandemic. What the instructional side of the house is doing and has been doing in response to these trends of the discrepancies or the differences between males and females are things like the Tejano Empowerment Network. Dr. Amaya used to run point on that. Since he has transitioned, Dr. Jose Pacheco Lucero has been running point on that, focusing efforts on supporting male students at the college. We, of course, continue our efforts to serve all students in the form of tutoring, advising. Our incoming quality enhancement plan that you'll be hearing about more in a few months focuses on getting students engaged and involved in the college from day one to help support their efforts throughout their journey. Still sticking with differences by gender, looking at median rather than average semester credit hours, similar trends. Again, before and during and through the pandemic, we see a slight shift in hours completed, but general patterns are the same, with females tending to complete more hours than males. So this is all a great summary of what we've been doing, but so what? So in order to make meaningful improvements on our key performance indicators, we need to identify the target where we want to go. And for this metric of hours completed by the end of the first year, we are looking at a across-the-board target of 2% increases, regardless of part-time, full-time, male, female. We are not seeing a significant impact due to the pandemic, and so we feel confident that we can look at increasing these metrics and raising the bar, if you will. So the next indicator that I wanted to talk about, also related to persistence and retention and obviously to completion, is how students complete their first semester. And so this chart is the first of a series presenting academic standing by the end of the first semester. Again, this has to do with first-time in college students. And in this case, there are 3 bars. The teal represents good standing, which the college defines as a term GPA greater than or equal to 2.0. The purple bar represents on probation, which is students' term GPA falls below 2.0. They are able to continue to enroll at the college with a few more intrusive measures, a little bit more tailored advising, some limits on the credit hours that they're able to enroll in, just to give them some added support as they progress. And then the red bar, it's very difficult to see, but that's good news because it's a small data point, represents students who end their first semester with us on academic suspension. And in this case, it's a little bit more severe. It is students who have been on probation during the previous term. They were unable to get their GPA up to that 2.0 threshold, and so now they are prevented from enrolling for one semester, so they're required to sit out. And as you can see, again, keeping that frame of mind of when the pandemic began to impact all of us at EPCC, including our students, you can see some noticeable shifts in this case. Beginning in spring of 20 and then progressing to subsequent semesters, you see a noticeable drop in the percentage of students that complete their first semester in good standing. And with a decline in that metric, students in good standing, you see a corresponding increase in the percentage of students, first-time in college students, that complete their first semester on probation or, unfortunately, on suspension. We don't see much difference in the trends when we disaggregate by gender, by part-time, full-time. We see minor shifts one semester, but not the other semester, so it's a little difficult to interpret whether the impact has made specific impacts on these data points. So right now we're going to just focus on overall trends because this is a lot to digest as it is without breaking it down even further. So keeping in mind that we're seeing a consistent pattern, whether we're talking overall metric, whether we're looking disaggregated by various demographic groups, rather than setting a higher goal for this metric, what Cabinet has decided to set for this target is to return the college to pre-pandemic success points for academic standing by academic year 23-24. So looking at four-year averages, we typically see fall FTIC students, about 3/4 of them complete their first term in good standing, a little bit more than 20% on probation, and then unfortunately a small portion completing on suspension. Spring, we see slightly different numbers. Perhaps that's consistent with the previous graphs I showed you on the semester credit hours completed for fall FTICs versus spring FTICs. So this is our goal for the coming years, is to work to help our students get back to these levels of success. And the last metric I want to share with you tonight is also academic standing, but this time by the end of the student's first complete year with us. Again, we see some obvious trends beginning with the impact of the pandemic. And it's the same trends that we saw with academic standing for the end of the first semester. We see, unfortunately, a dip in the percentage of students completing their first year with us in good standing, and a corresponding increase in the percentage of students that are completing their first year on probation or on suspension. In this case, though, we are seeing a few more glimmers of hope. When we disaggregate the data, we're starting to see some positive trends among our part-time students, seem to be experiencing more success on this metric, a higher proportion of part-time students completing in good standing. We're also seeing some positive news regarding female students, beginning to get back to the pre-pandemic levels of good academic standing. So here, just as in the other metric on academic standing at the end of the first term, Our goal for the college and for our students is to return again to pre-pandemic success points by academic year 23-24. And here, the 3-year averages are presented on the graph. We see, again, an interesting difference in fall FTIC students versus spring FTIC students. But again, the overwhelming majority of students do complete their first year in good academic standing, and we certainly want to do everything we can to bring those numbers back up. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Happy to answer any questions or discuss anything that catches your eye.
Is these statistics for all students that,
These are
even
for
our early college, high school?
These are for our first time in college students. So in fact, I double checked to make sure I was presenting accurate data. It does include first time in college students are students who have either a high school diploma or GED. So current dual credit early college high school students are not in this mix, but a student that had taken courses for dual credit while they were in high school, graduated, and then came to us would be included in this data. And unfortunately, that is the group that would be the largest number of students in that on suspension. The only way a student could be on suspension is if they had first been on probation. So a long answer to your question, but it sort of includes dual credit early college.
Any other questions?
Who else is looking at this data besides you and us?
Most of our colleagues in the front row, certainly Dr. Sarata. Those are for sure the primary users of Power BI and our metrics. We certainly have counselors and advisors looking at that information. Instructional faculty are looking at our student success measures, but on a regular basis, I can safely say it's cabinet and you all.
And do we have a way to reach out to the ones that are on probation to see if they can?
We do. The Student Enrollment Services Division under Dr. Maya communicate with students on their academic standing. The counselors and advisors reach out to them, work with students very closely while they're on probation to hopefully circumvent them falling into a suspension status. But they do receive additional communications from the college, yeah, and additional supports.
Do we have a system for the ones that are on suspension to get them back when their suspension is over?
Unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that, but my hunch is either counselors and advisors and Dr. Smith is grabbing the mic, so I'm going to defer to him.
Sure, happy to answer. We monitor this, as you can imagine, pretty closely, and there are actually several initiatives designed to target students that need additional assistance. So one of the ones I alluded to last month was the early alert system, which attempts to identify students before they get onto probation or, God forbid, suspension. But once they are on there, they're required to meet with counselors in order to re-enroll. And they are advised about what's the appropriate course mix for them to take to continue to be successful. They're also directed to support services that might help them be successful.
But the early alert is for first-year students only, right?
We're expanding that now. When we first got the grant that helped us stand that program up, it was targeted to first-time in college-only students, but now that the grant has ended, we are institutionalizing parts of that program and expanding it to all students.
Dr. Smith, do you have a statistic on why most of these students that are suspended, is it math, science, what is it?
I don't have that handy. We look at a number of things where students are placed on holds and other things at the institution, but we can certainly get that information to you. Fortunately, the suspended students is a fairly small number, but we can get you the statistics about what's causing the probations and suspensions.
Any other questions?
Usually the probations, students that are on probation are based on GPA. They're not meeting the GPA requirements.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it something that we can correct with maybe getting more math, or more, I would like to know what's causing the.
Yeah, we can certainly share those statistics with you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Penny.
Okay, 1.9.
Item 1.9, Board of Trustees business. Item 1.9.1, discussion and take possible action to approve or adopt resolution for the approval of the college's investment policy and CAK local.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Naheda.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. 1.9.2, Pam?
Item 1.9.2, discussion and take possible action regarding the resolution authorizing the delegation of certain authority to Dr. William Sarata, College President, regarding the COVID-19 pandemic.
Move to approve?
Second.
So are we making it longer? Is that what we're doing?
No, on this one, there's, if the board wants to leave intact the president's emergency COVID-19 resolution powers, it would be no action.
But
No
it's
action.
under the action.
And I think, you know, just, we put this on the agenda, and we revisit it every month just to ensure that we continue it. I'm basing my decision to continue it, so I guess the no action vote. The governor's order is in terms of still declaring COVID-19 as an emergency is still in place. Both the city and the county's orders are still in place in terms of a declaration of emergency, so I feel that we probably need to keep it as such until we see some sort of revocation on that.
So are we going to discuss this every month until, so it's going to be on the board agenda every month?
That was the plan.
I mean, I don't have any problem with it, but
Well, it's under the action item, so if we can put it as a no action.
Yes, we had decided
We
that we
have
were
to-
going to
we have
post it
to-
for action if we wanted to do something, but if we just don't, we just say no action. We had talked about this when we
I
had
don't
done to
have a
revisit
prob-
it.
I don't have a problem with it. I just think that eventually this is going to run its course, but, okay, so we don't take any no action? Okay, do you have, your motion is no action?
Just no motion.
Okay, sure.
Motion's no action?
All right,
Item 1.10, Board Reports. Item 1.10.1, Treasurer's Report. No action is necessary. Item 1.10.2, President's Report. Item 1.10.2.1, Dr. William Sarata, College President, will update the Board of Trustees and audience on recent events that have transpired at the college to include an update on the COVID-19 pandemic and appropriate actions taken.
Chair Haggerty and members of the board, always a pleasure to update you on items that we've covered at the college. On March 3rd, the Marathon Petroleum Corporation Foundation presented a $273,838 check to the foundation for EPCC at a press conference held at the college's Advanced Technology Center at the Valle Verde campus. This funding is for a grant that will be used to create the Marathon Petroleum Corporation High School to College Transition Program in Welding Technology, which is designed to address the regional need for trained, qualified, and certified welders. This new initiative is a collaboration between EPCC, the Isleta Independent School District, Career Center, Welding Program at Riverside High School, and Marathon Petroleum Corporation. The expertise of Marathon Petroleum Corporation's employees combined with EPCC and YISD faculty will create a powerful crossroads between education and the real world. EPCC announced the creation of the Joe K. Foster Endowed Scholarship. This endowment was made possible by the generosity of former State Senator Mr. Joe Christie, who donated $25,000 to the foundation for EPCC in memory of his dear friend and founding board chair, Mr. Joe K. Foster, who passed away in 2013. Both Senator Christie and Mr. Foster were instrumental in founding EPCC, and their legacy continues with this gift. Their work and collective efforts were also recognized at the reception attended by Mr. Foster's family, EPCC leadership, elected official, members of our board, and other guests. Senator Christie believes that his donation in honor of Mr. Foster will positively impact the students who receive it. Many thanks to Senator Christie for his continued advocacy and support of the college. For the 17th year in a row, the college has been recognized as a leader in education to Hispanic students by Hispanic Outlook on Education magazine. In February 2022 issue, the college was highlighted on the cover, once again, had an article on its success and the distinction of being one of the nation's leaders in associate degrees granted and Hispanic enrollment. As the country emerges from a global pandemic, community colleges are the driving force in helping students begin their higher education journey or to reskill and upskill to advance their careers. At EPCC, students are finding both their paths to degrees and to success. I'm proud to share that the college has recently been announced as a participant in the latest expansion of its Intel Artificial Intelligence, AI, for Workforce program designed to help educate the next generation of U.S. technologists, engineers, and inventors to help them embark in careers of their chosen fields, ranging from healthcare to nursing to business. To support the expansion of the program across the United States, Intel is collaborating with Dell Technologies to provide technical and infrastructure expertise. Students who complete the program, which now includes EPCC, will receive enhanced training and curriculum in AI. Our college readiness mentors are doing a great job reaching out to the community. The college readiness mentors delivered a PowerPoint presentation featuring the careers and programs that are available to students at El Paso Community College. Each one of the 3 presentations lasted 20 minutes and were catered to 100 students from grades 3 through 6 at the Alarcon Elementary School Career Day event. College readiness mentors also visited the Frank Macias Elementary Open House event and reached out to parents in the community about the importance of college and the programs available to them to continue their education through El Paso Community College. Many parents were present and interested in the information. Congratulations to the Community Education Program, CEP, Dr. Andres Muro, Director, and Suami Mesa, Program Manager, represented EPCC at the Bellwether College Consortium in San Antonio as a finalist in instructional programs and services. They were joined by Dr. Carmen Olivas Graham, Dr. Smith, Dean Kirby, Margie Nelson Rodriguez, and I also joined them. The Community Education Program is the umbrella of Dr. Muro's grant-funded programs, including the College Assistant Migrant Program, or CAMP, and the High School Equivalency Program. Each area within the CEP does an outstanding job of reaching out to El Paso's underrepresented and underserved communities. The basic design of the CEP is to address the critical issues facing so many in El Paso and the surrounding areas: access to educational opportunities. Thank you for all you do for our community. On February 22nd, the college hosted the Spring 2022 Early College High School Leadership Council meeting with 56 members in attendance. The agenda included presentations by Dean Badillo, Dr. La Chica Chavez, Ms. Yvette Savina, and Martin Ramirez from UTEP, and Ms. Karina Su from Educate Texas. Mr. Ben Ortega, Mission Early College High School Principal, and Ms. Penelope Bankston, Valle Verde Early College High School Principal, shared best practices and lessons learned. The schools opened in 2006 and 2007, respectively. On February 23rd, EPCC hosted the Spring 2022 Counseling Institute with 140 attendees. Ms. Lucia Rodriguez presented Connecting the Dots for EPCC Student Success, sharing a wide variety of resources for all students, including dual credit and early college high school students. Kudos to Mr. Rene Chavez and Ms. Olaya Cáceres for organizing the event, and to Dr. Cassandra La Chica Chavez, Dr. Selena Gomez, and Ms. Diana Medina for their respective contributions. Congratulations to the recipients of the 2021 Board AP Computer Science Diversity Award. Clint ISD, Early College Academy, Northwest Early College High School, and Trans Mountain Early College High School. Harmony Science, El Paso, and Tornillo High School were other dual credit partners earning this award. The College Board AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award recognizes schools that are closing the gender gap and expanding young women's access to computer science coursework in AP Computer Science principles. Since the last board meeting, I participated in over 60 virtual and in-person meetings, participated in the TAC meetings. TAC CEO, Mr. Jacob Freire, announced his departure from TAC. He will return to El Paso to serve as the director of the Dr. Diana Natalicio Hispanic Institute at UTEP. I chaired 2 TAC executive committee meetings, met with the TAC staff as Mr. Freire begins his transition, chaired an emergency TAC CEOs only meeting, participated in a TAC regional meeting prep, met with EPISD Superintendent Savallerda, participated in the Real College Texas Task Force meeting, participated in a Board of Directors meeting for Excellencia in Education, met with Cisco leadership, Mr. Tim Lake, Mr. Brian Steiner, and Ms. Barbara Walker, held a meeting with Dr. Richard Munoz from Sul Ross State University regarding potential partnerships between the institutions, attended the bellwether that I referenced earlier with Dr. Graham, Dr. Smith, Dean Kirby, Ms. Nelson Rodriguez, Dr. Muro, and Ms. Mesa. Attended the Board of Trustees Institute in San Antonio, was joined by Dr. Graham and Ms. Sanchez. Many thanks to each of you for taking time out of your schedules to attend that Board of Trustees Institute. Attended the SAC COC Governance Subcommittee meeting. Attended the reception for Mr. Foster's endowed scholarship established by Senator Christie. Many thanks to Dr. Carrie Moe and her team for coordinating the outstanding event. Participated in a Columbia University Community College Research Center dual enrollment roundtable study with Dr. Davis Jenkin and community college CEOs. Participated in an Aspen Presidential Fellowship meeting. Participated in an interview with El Paso Inc. Participated in meetings with the Future of Work Committee that is led by Borderplex Alliance. A Pillar 3 Inclusive Pathways for Adults webinar. An EPCC and Metatrellis Foundation grant for mental health, and North Carolina State University dissertation discussion meeting, as well as a crisis management and recovery meeting with Rutgers University. With regards to COVID, the 14 days of decreasing cases, the metrics that we continue to monitor, we're currently averaging 30 cases per day, which is lower than the prior 2 weeks during which we averaged 46 cases per day. And again, which is lower compared to the previous 2 weeks before that when we were averaging 89 cases per day. The number of daily cases are significantly lower than the 212 case limit per day for a community of our size. The rolling 7-day average has fallen below the recommended 5% and today stands at 4.2%. The rolling 7-day average has been below the 5% recommended level 12 out of the last 21 days and appears to be leveling out and continuing to fall. The cumulative positivity rate today stood at 11.7% and has been above the 10% marker for the last 69 days. It is the only indicator that is currently above the recommended level. The infection rate continues to fall and has been below the daily total of 212 cases for the last 38 consecutive days. We currently stand at 79.9% of our population aged 5 or older that is fully vaccinated and 101.4% of our population who has received their first vaccination. To summarize, we continue to be below the 14 days of decreasing cases. The infection rate and the 7-day rolling average continue to drop and we're well below the recommended 5%. The cumulative positivity rate is the one indicator that remains above the recommended level and is a lagging indicator despite all of the other data. My recommendation and request to the board is that we plan to implement phase 3 of our return to campus plan on Monday, April the 11th. Phase 3 would increase the college staffing to 75% capacity with 100% participating. We will continue to monitor the data for the next 2 weeks, and if all indicators continue in the right direction, we will implement phase 3 on April 11th with the board's authorization. We've been in phase 2 of our plan since Monday, August 23rd. We will continue to monitor the data and keep the Board of Trustees informed of any recommended changes for your consideration.
Well, thank you, Doctor. I just was wondering, when do you go to sleep?
In the evening, Judge.
Okay.
Judge, he's slowing down. He only attended 60 meetings.
We had a week of spring break, Dr. Graham.
Oh, spring break, okay. I just asking. Okay, 1.11 there, Pam.
Item 1.11, consent docket. This includes item 3.2.
Have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions?
My only question is on these grant-funded positions, do we have a plan for what happens to the employees that we hire for these jobs and then the grant finishes?
So, Dr. Graham, what we try to do with grant-funded positions is if they exhibit the impact to student success that we're looking for, we do try to institutionalize such positions. If for whatever reason those respective positions are not available, we encourage those individuals that currently hold those to look at other positions within the institution that are open. But the point of a grant is always to institutionalize. If it has an impact on student success, is always to eventually institutionalize those positions.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Call a question?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. Okay, item number 2, Pam. Administration.
Section 2, administration, there's none. Section 3, personnel. Item 3.1, discussion and action to approve full-time staff and faculty recruited in positions funded by the institutional budget.
Chair Haggerty, Dr. Serrata, there's one change on page 65 for item 3.1. There was a typographical error for the program manager. The end term should be May 31, 2022, as opposed to August 31, 2022. So subject to that change, if the board is inclined to approve the item, that's the only change we have.
Move to approve with the modification of Raimundo Vasquez's end date to be 5/31/22.
Second.
Any questions? Call the question?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Okay.
Item 3.3.
Information items, resignations, no action is required. Section 4, financial services, there is none. Section 5, physical facilities. Item 5.1, discussion and action on the approval to award a contract to Contract Associates of El Paso, LLC, for the purchase of classroom furniture for the Valle Verde campus in an amount not to exceed $589,032.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Section 6, curriculum and instruction, item 6.1, discussion and action on the approval to increase the open educational resources fee not to exceed $50 per enrollment in an OER course sections effective fall 2022.
Move to approve 5.1 and 5.2.
Second.
That would be 6.1 and 6.2.
I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses.
Item 6.2, discussion and action on the approval to increase the credit for learning by experience option fee not to exceed $95 effective fall 2022.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Section 7, Student Services, item 7.1, discussion and action on the approval of continuing education tuition rates for new courses.
Move to approve 7.1 and 7.2.
Second?
Can you read 7.2, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Item 7.2, discussion and action on the approval of continuing education tuition rates for revised courses.
We have a motion and a second. Call a question. Any discussion? Call a question.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Ms. Naheda?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye. We're going to go into executive session, Pam.
Yes, sir. Okay. The Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for one or more of the following reasons: consultation with its attorney to seek or receive legal advice, or consultation regarding pending or contemplated litigation, or for any purpose authorized by law; discussion about the value or transfer of real property; discussion about a prospective gift or donation; consideration of specific personnel matters; discussion about security, personnel or devices, or discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce that it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding these items shall be taken in open session. Item 1.3.1, discussion with legal counsel regarding rate 41 with El Paso Electric pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code.
Okay, the Board of Trustees is back in session out of executive session. I do want to make a note that our next board meeting will be April the 26th, starting at 4? At 4 in the afternoon. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So my,
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.